Good evening. Today's March 18th, 2019. The 31st meeting of the 23rd Council will come to order. All councilors are present this evening. We will now have a moment of silence led by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilor Gibson.
Madam President, could I have a point of order?
Sure.
I'm a little concerned. We've delayed this meeting for 25 minutes so that we could wait for legislation or something that should have been on the dais when the meeting started at 5 o'clock. So we delayed the meeting to get legislation, and it's 25 minutes past. So I just want to have a little clarification from the city attorney or for someone about how the charter speaks about waiting to have legislation come to the council and delaying the council meeting.
Madam President, Councilor Winter, I'm happy to look into that.
Ms. Yara?
I'm sorry, Councilor Winter, I didn't get your question.
It's a point of order about we've delayed the meeting for 25 minutes so that we could have wait for legislation that usually is required by our rules to be at the council meeting at 5 o'clock, and we delayed the start of the meeting for 25 minutes till we got the legislation. I guess I want a point of clarification on that because this is the first time this is ever done in all my years.
Yes, Madam President, Councilor Winter, I apologize for that. I was actually preparing a bill for Councilor Pena, and I ran out of time, and so that was all on me.
Madam, I still have the floor, Madam President. No, I don't think it is. I think that everybody was working on legislation till the very end, which probably should have been worked on before then.
Councilor Harris?
Well, we passed by a 6-3 vote amending the resolution so that the last day to vote on this is actually April 1. So I think the legislation has to be on the dais by 5 o'clock April 1. Isn't that correct? Or is it tonight? What's going on?
Madam President, Councilor Harris, so the amendment that the council passed a few weeks ago made it so that the council had to take final action on this plan by April 1st. That doesn't preclude you from taking final action tonight or any time before that.
I know, but the rule about the 5 o'clock on the dais, didn't that also dovetail with the final action that we're allowed to take? I mean, doesn't it have to be on by 5 o'clock on April 1st, not 5 o'clock today?
Yes, Madam President, Councilor Harris. So the rules state that any amendments shall be distributed to all councilors prior to each meeting. It does not list a time frame, and therefore we could tighten the rules up to say 5 o'clock if that's what you wish.
Oh, so that's not just the final meeting, it's any budget meeting. Understood. Okay. Thanks for that clarification, Ms. Yara.
Thank you. Mr. Aguilar, did you have a comment?
Madam President, Councilor Winter, I think that's accurate, and the council rules of procedure do not speak to the situation that Councilor Winter referred to, but generally when the president has the discretion to start the meeting when there's a quorum, and then so.
Thank you. Civic parking passes are provided for the members of the public. You can obtain a parking pass from council staff at the sign-up table. The council will take a break at approximately 7 p.m. this evening if needed. We want tonight's proceedings to be as civil as possible and respectful as possible. Please do not make any personal attacks. Please no applause or other outbursts during the meeting. The meeting will go a lot smoother if we are respectful of one another. Next item is item 3, proclamations and presentations. Councilor Borrego, Jones, and Pena. Oh, I'm starting. Do we have anyone here, Councilor Borrego, who's going to be accepting this proclamation? We have...
do from, I believe, would you come forward, please?
Would you come forward, state your name for the record and what organization you're with?
Yes, I'm Joan Costello, and I'm the Executive Director for Greater Albuquerque Habitat for Humanity.
And I'm Beth Goldman, Director of Resource Development for Habitat for Humanity.
Welcome. I'll start reading the proclamation. Whereas the International Women's Day is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women, and retrieved March 15, 2019 from, it announces the website internationalwomensday.com. Whereas International Women's Day has occurred for well over a century, with the first International Day supported over 1 million women in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland in 1911. And whereas today, International Women's Day belongs to all groups collectively everywhere and is not a country, group, or organization specific. And
Whereas gender balance is essential for economies and communities to thrive, and gender balance is not a women's issue but an economic issue. And whereas on International Women Build Day, Habitat for Humanity strives to empower women by encouraging them to join together, build each other up, and support safe and affordable housing. And whereas Habitat Build seeks to educate, inspire, and empower women to help others build and repair a decent and affordable place they can call home. And whereas Habitat for Humanity believes every child, person, and family deserves a safe and stable home. And on International Women's Day in 16 cities in the U.S., Canada, and India, Lowe's called on women across the globe to raise a hammer with Habitat for Humanity and share their message to spotlight this important issue. Be it proclaimed that the council, the governing body of the city of Albuquerque, hereby celebrates International Women's Day, occurring March 8th, 2019, and honors the movement throughout the month of March. The council further recognizes Habitat for Humanity's role in providing safe, affordable homes for women and training women across the globe in self-reliant home repair, maintenance, and building. Thank you so much. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you so much, Councilor Borrego, and we were so happy to have you at our ceremony, as well as Councilor Sanchez. He's been very supportive of us, and we're kind of building in his backyard where he grew up. But also, Councilor Davis and Councilor Benton have been very supportive of our efforts. We were very honored to have been chosen and have Lowe's as a partner, knowing that there is only 16 affiliates that were chosen in the United States, so we feel very honored in Albuquerque. And as you know, a lot of our partner families are single women, single moms, and we have had a very amazing response from the women in our community coming out to support the Women Build. We have a 22-home project that will be completed in 2020, and so for all of you city councilors in your region, we're looking for land. Thank you so much. We're so honored by this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Why don't you come up and receive your proclamation?
Congratulations. You're welcome. This is for you. It's good to see you again.
Next, we have Councilor Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to invite Head Chaplain Mark Busmeyer down, as well as all the police chaplain unit that is here. Please come down. So this is a proclamation honoring the Albuquerque Police Chaplain Unit. It says, whereas the Albuquerque Police Chaplain Unit is celebrating their 50th anniversary, and whereas the chaplain unit was established on March 10th, 1969, and whereas the chaplain unit began with a proposal to the then Chief of Police, Paul A. Shaver, from a local minister, the Reverend Virgil Bonto, and whereas Chief Shaver appointed Reverend John A. Jack Price as the first full-time chaplain commander for the Albuquerque Police Department, And whereas the chaplain unit started with 35 ministers and 1 motor vehicle donated by a local automobile agency, and whereas the chaplain unit serves the moral and spiritual needs of the men and women of the Albuquerque Police Department and the citizens of Albuquerque, and whereas throughout the years, hundreds of members of the clergy from many denominations have volunteered their time to the chaplain unit, and whereas the members of the chaplain unit volunteer tens of thousands of hours of service annually to make Albuquerque a better place to live, and whereas today, department chaplains continue to serve as ambassadors dedicated to providing a ministry of presence, support, and counsel to members of the Albuquerque Police Department, their families, and the community, be it proclaimed that the council, the governing body of the city of Albuquerque, hereby proclaim March as Albuquerque Police Chaplain Month.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please say a few words.
Last year, myself and my fellow chaplains, who are all volunteers, by the way, donated enough time to the city to make up for 9 3/4 full-time employees. We have been with the city in good times and in bad, always carrying light into very dark neighborhoods and very dark hearts, trying to make the world a little bit better place for the citizens of Albuquerque, and especially for our officers. So we thank you for this award.
Counselor Davis.
Thank you, Madam President, and thanks, Councilor Winter, for bringing this. It's really important. I just have to say, some of us recognize each other from my days way back when I was a police officer. I think this is a great example to see what folks do to volunteer to make our city better. These are folks who step up to go and respond to police calls for children that are injured and killed, domestic violence issues, and unfortunately, more often than we should, for the families of our police officers and public servants who lose their lives or are injured and their families are concerned. We saw it firsthand, and the work that you do, be on call 24/7 to do this, is a tremendous honor for your congregations and for those of you who have retired and given back, but it's an example of what volunteers do for our city. And I really appreciate Councilor Winter for bringing that. You're real heroes for our city for what you do and the stress and the personal toll it puts on you, and we appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Councilor.
Madam
Counsel-
President, I'm sorry, Chief Guyer is here too. I don't know if he wanted to say a few words in support.
Wait until after he's done.
Yes, absolutely. Madam Chairman and members of the council, we would be lost without this group. Chaplain Mark is only hitting on the surface of what they do for us, and when they give those hours, they're not daytime hours. Often it's in the middle of the night, inclement weather, supporting not only the families but our officers as well. And at every event, we have somebody giving benedictions and invocations and supporting our families and our officers in times of trouble, because we're human as well. And that encouragement, faith, and guidance that we get helps us move on. So I'm very grateful to every member in here and for their service to our community. I'm honored to be part of this great group and help them in whatever way we can. So Mark and everyone else, guys, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks.
Thank you. We have Counselor Borrego.
I just want to sincerely thank all of you for the heavy load and the difficult work that you do. And during this Lenten season, I would really like that God will bestow his light upon each and every one of you, because you're a light definitely in darkness. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to come up and receive your proclamation? Thank you again. Next, we have economic development discussion. There is none. We're moving on to item 5, administration question and answer period. Counselor, are there any questions for the administration? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, journal. Counselor Borrego.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam President, let me find my script here. I move approval of the March 4th journal.
There's a motion and a second for approval of the journal. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item is 7, communications and introductions. Are there any changes to the letter of introduction? Counselor Benton and Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that rules be suspended for the purpose of introducing R-134 and placing it on the April 1st council agenda for final action. R-134 is amending committee substitute R-1818 to extend the deadline for a committee of public and private entities to conduct an analysis of the 2015 and 2018 International Energy Conservation Code with intentions to replace the currently adopted 2009 Energy Conservation Code.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor of R-134 and placing it on April 1st council agenda for final action, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Counselor Borrego.
I move approval of the letter of introduction.
There's a motion and a second for approval of the letter of introduction. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Reports of committee, item 8. Counselor Harris.
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance and Government Operations Committee met on Monday, March 11, 2019, and reports out the following items. In a matter of EC 334, that it be approved. In a matter of EC 338, 341, and 342, that they be approved and acted on at the meeting at which they are reported. In the matter of EC 339 and 340, that receipt be noted. In the matter of O50 and R127, that they do pass and be acted on at the meeting at which they are reported. In a matter of R124 and R130, that they do pass. I move to accept the committee report.
Second. There's a motion and a second to accept the committee report. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item is, doesn't have an item number, deferrals and withdrawals. Councilors, are there any deferrals or withdrawals at this time? Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm on Ordinance O53, which is an ordinance authorizing the pledge and dedication of the city's 3/8% municipal holding harmless gross tax imposed pursuant to city ordinance. I move a withdrawal.
Second. There's a motion and a second for withdrawal of O53. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item is, D, Councilor Davis, R78.
Thank you, Madam President. On R78, a nuisance substandard dwelling or structure in need of abatement at 115 Charleston Southeast. We have a property owner who continues to make progress there, and so I would move a deferral until our May committee.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for deferral of R78. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item is 9, consent agenda. Are there any changes to the consent agenda? Councilor Borrego.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next, we are on general public comments. That's item 10. There will be a 2-minute time limit. The light on the podium will be green for the first minute and a half, then the light will turn yellow, and the bell will ring indicating you have 30 seconds remaining to wrap up your comments. At 2 minutes, the light will turn red and ring to indicate that your time is up. Our first speaker this evening is Mr. Don Schrader, followed by John Hovey, followed by Lara Dale.
122 of the 195 nations in the United Nations adopted the Nuclear Ban Treaty in July 2017, the first comprehensive ban on nuclear weapons under international law, making it illegal to develop, test, produce, manufacture, acquire, possess, stockpile, transfer, receive, use, or even threaten to use nuclear weapons. Nations cannot help, urge, support, or supply another nation to do any of those. No companies that build, no banks that finance, no investments that support nuclear weapons. Sadly, the United States opposes and violates this treaty constantly. The United States has thousands of nuclear bombs. This year, the U.S. spends $100 billion, that's billion, not million, $100 billion for nuclear bombs. The U.S. is the only nation that has atom-bombed cities. Any wonder that millions worldwide fear this government more than any other government on earth? Sandia and Los Alamos nuclear weapons labs constantly commit massive international terrorism against humanity. I have paid no federal income tax for 40 years. I refuse to pay to prepare the largest mass murder and suicide in human history.
Thank you. Our next speaker is John Hovey, followed by Laura Dale, followed by Mr. Rudolph Serrano.
I just want to say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. And I wanted to say I'm very concerned about the spraying of Roundup throughout the city, which I consider a very dangerous chemical. When I go by the areas that have been sprayed and that are being sprayed, I get a burning sensation in my lungs, and that's telling me this is not good. And I'm very concerned about this issue, and I would appreciate anything that can be done. I've done a lot of gardening, a lot of landscaping work. I never use dangerous chemicals, and I don't see the need for it. There has to be a better way. And I love this city. It's a beautiful city, and I like to do a lot of walking and sunshine and fresh air. This is what keeps me going. And I feel that Roundup is a very big detriment to the health of a lot of people, and I'm very concerned about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lara Dale.
President and council members, a long time no see. I am going to try and keep a happy face on this because so many of you have been so good about this issue to do with public access, and those of you who weren't, I know, have rethought what happened in that situation. So I've decided to keep a happy face, to think of it as Groundhog Day. And that even though 7 years ago this exact same thing happened, which is we just got the information that once again Rick Metz, who is now calling himself Greater Communities, is the only, I guess the recommendation of Ward just came out, and once again you public is being considered for this. So I would like the council to please, as we play this scenario out yet again, give us a happy ending. 3 of 4 bidders were eliminated for non-responsiveness. 2 of them are actually maintaining that they did response and that the contracts were misread improperly. So one suggestion would be to reevaluate the procurement process as far as who made those decisions and why. A second suggestion could be just reissue the RFP. You can't just have one bidder. The third was just vote unanimously against the current bidder, and let's get somebody into the position that's actually going to do something. Public access is about the public. It's not about corporate interests. It's not about who's going to make this money or that money. Public access that we had in this city was once 5th in the nation under New York and Chicago. Let's give Bill Murray his happy ending where he walks away with Andy McDowell and the happiness and the snow and the brightness. Let's give this voice back to the community. Please, please, please do the right thing this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to ask Ms. Nair, the CAO, if you have a comment about this, if you can give us an update.
Yes, thank you, Council President Pena. Councilor Jones, I'd like to invite the Director of Cultural Services, Shel Sanchez, to talk just for a minute about what the process is, because it is actually quite different than it has been in the past, and there are more opportunities for more people to participate. So I'll turn it over to Shel.
Thank you. President Pena, Councilor Jones. Yes, we are just entering the process of starting to contract for public access and also for local origination channel. And we've made some pretty important changes, and I completely understand the concerns that were presented earlier by Ms. Dale. And when it comes to the public access channel, we're really looking at the contract very differently. We're also looking at the role of media resources, which is within cultural services, in terms of how they interact and oversee that contract. So I'd like to say that we have a very different oversight process. Our expectations of the contractor will be very different than they have been. And local origination will have multiple content providers instead of just one. So that's where we are right now. We're beginning those contracts, so it's probably 4 to 6 weeks before they're in place. Any additional questions?
Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. My concern is they are saying that 75% of those individuals that put in bids were non-responsive. Are those individuals going to have the opportunity to participate and do work for public access? Because if they're non-responsive, I really have some concerns about that when only one of the bidders was basically qualified. I know this has gone out multiple times. It's gone out a second time, and I'm not sure who was non-responsive the first time, but I'm really troubled to hear that 3/4 of those individuals that applied were not responsive. And I'm not sure if you guys did not work with them, trying to assure that everyone had the opportunity to, bid on this contract and have an opportunity to get this contract. But now I'm hearing that multiple bidders will have the chance to do work for public access.
So there were actually 2 RFPs that went out, and I think that's important to clarify in this most recent round. Before public access and local origination were put into one RFP, so we issued 2 RFPs, one to manage the local access channel, another to provide programming for local origination. And so of those 2 RFPs, I believe Ms. Dale is talking about the RFP for local access programming. And yes, there were several bidders that were deemed non-responsive by purchasing. So we ended up with 1 qualified applicant.
When you talk about the 1 qualified applicant, I am extremely concerned of that is the same individuals that have the contract now that were not in compliance of what's been going on the last 3 years with a different name.
Well, I can't speak to the details of that until the contracting process is complete. I will say that I believe one of the problems and that we feel like we're prepared to address is the actual contract and the expectations that were written into the contract. We have very high expectations moving forward, and we will be part of the compliance process. In addition, Media Resources and Cultural Services is going to be an active partner in programming where I believe to this date, my understanding has been the contractor has been very autonomous and independent, and we have actually staff that will be dedicated to working with all of the public access, the local origination, and the education programmers for all of those channels. So we will be actively engaged with them on a monthly basis. So the whole arrangement is different. Now there will be multiple contracts for providing local origination, and there will be other ways for multiple organizations to participate in the public access channel, and that's really about changing the content of the contract and what their expectations are.
Thank you.
Councilor Borrego.
Shel, when you issued these RFPs, did you have a mandatory pre-RFP meeting with the people that were going to bid to explain the new process? Or was there, how would they know that there was going to be a new process?
President Pena, Councilor Borrego, yes, there was a meeting held by purchasing with cultural services representatives and media representatives there to answer questions.
Thank Oh, Counselor Benton, yeah?
Director Sanchez, was the council represented on the selection committee?
Yes, on
But-
both, there were 2 selection committees because there were 2 RFPs, and yes.
And who was that on the council?
Counselor,
Yara?
Director
Okay,
Yada.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Rudolph Serrano, followed by Melinda Forward, followed by Victor Gallardo.
Madam Clarissa, members of the council, Sarita, and people from the city. Well, there's many concerns that we have. One of my main concerns today, I was driving through art, and I haven't seen anything or any ideas in the art project, so I start thinking, and in other countries, what we do in those sections, we use minivans with 2 doors, where you can actually, catch somebody in one side and drop it on the other side. And that's just an option that we should be thinking about. If I will have the money, I will do it. I would like to see this to be something that the citizens do and not the city, like a business project. So that's something that is important to mention as I was coming today. But I got other things. We have an immigration crisis coming into the city. I was right. I went to meet them. They were all beautiful people. I didn't see any maras or salvatruchas on them. So, I'm with Father Vicente on it. But we have to make sure, that we keep it on the safe side. The other thing is we got to give some minutes to the Woman Month, and I've been asking to Mr. Benton, that actually he just walked out on me, for cameras in the massage therapy rooms. One of the biggest uses for prostitution of especially immigrant Asian women, is in the massage rooms. And as a masseuse, I know that you always cover, you never expose. So it shouldn't be a problem to put a camera to defend our therapist. And that's my point on that. And he told me to ask somebody else, so I'm asking you if somebody else can do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Serrano. Melinda Forward.
I have some handouts for the counselors. Thank you. Thank you. And then, can I put it? Yes, please. Good evening. My name is Melinda Ford, and I am the director of Kindness Club International. And I was a teacher for 27 years, and 2 years ago I retired early because my French program was actually cut in half because of budget cuts. And during my lunchtime, my kids started a kindness club. We connected with a school in Hawaii. We found out that our projects were really making a difference for the students and also school-wide and for the teachers. So it evolved into a number of different challenges, and then projects that included murals. So I've been working in schools around the district now for about 1.5 years, and what I found is that there is not enough funding for kindness. No surprise, right? No surprise. So I've been working with Whittier Elementary School since the beginning of the year, and we have been looking for funding for murals since the day I met them. And we've been looking and looking and looking. So I decided that we are just going to stop looking and go to the community because the school just was not able to find the funding. So we are doing a mural festival from March 23rd until the 30th, so it's a whole week long. And in 7 days, we're going to be installing 5 murals and transforming the Fine Arts Building. And we are looking for community members to come help us. This is way bigger than any of us alone. And so we are looking for people to come participate. So I gave you these schedules, so feel free to come on down. Please come and celebrate with us on the 30th. We're planning on making it this huge event. And there's also going to be a legal resource fair in the morning. And my colleague Miguel Valdez is going to be coming to speak about that in a couple of minutes. But I'm really excited to have the community be the solution for underfunding. We have an Adopt a Cub program, so anyone can adopt a cub for $60, and that provides all of the materials for the Mural Festival and a 12-week leadership program, including a really cool customized t-shirt that all students will get. So please come down and join us and see what we're up to. and we're really looking forward to working with about 5 other schools doing festivals before the end of the year. So, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Davis.
Thanks, Madam President. I just want to say thank you so much for picking Whittier and doing this work. We had an update on this at the Community Schools Board meeting earlier in the week. I talked to some folks at Whittier, and we've talked to some of the volunteers from the Mural Fest that are also coming that we helped fund last year.
Yes.
So would you be sure on your way out that, would you just be sure we leave some contact information with our staff to be
Definitely.
sure we're connecting with all those other folks?
Great.
We've been doing some fundraising. I think we'll be trying to help you guys with that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Victor Gallardo, followed by Miguel Valdez, followed by Mr. Tad Naminsky.
Good evening. My name is Victor Gallardo. I'm the president of Slow Roll 505. Slow Roll 505 is a free and inclusive way to bring Burqueños and visitors of all ages, walks of life, and biking levels of individuals for a monthly bike ride along the city. Once a month, we meet at a designated community center or park and cruise through a different part of our town, getting to know each other and unique barrios that make up the 505. Right now, I am bringing this idea to Albuquerque. I experienced it for myself in Slow Roll Detroit when I was there on business, and I love the idea because you get to go to the neighborhoods and you get escorted by police in the front and the back, and you kind of just make your way through the city. Right now I'm in the process of working with Martin Carrasco and Mike Trissel on the rolling barricade permits. So we're trying to kind of fine tune the permit to get us through the city. My reason for being here is that I want to personally invite you individuals, council members, to our bike rides. The first one starts May 27th at noon. It's going to be at the Robinsons Park, and then we have one every Monday, once a month at 6:30, and we have different areas. We have Barelas District, we have the Sawmill District, we have Old Town, and we also have one of those ranchos, so one more one of those ranchos as well to have that bike ride. One of the big expenses that we have, and the reason why I'm here, is because the APD overtime rates is really my biggest expense. I'm trying to figure out how to manage that. So if you guys know of anybody who's interested in kind of sponsorship one of the rides by way of a monetary contribution to help with the APD overtime rates, that'd be great. And thus far, Bike Albuquerque has been very helpful to us. They allowed us to use their insurance policy so that everybody in the bike rides is protected during the time they're with us. HomeWise has been able to sponsorship our Barelas ride, so they're paying for all the expenses for the Barelas ride on June 10th. So if you guys can make it, that'd be great as well. So if anything, it's an invitation for y'all to come out and kind of experience this new concept in Albuquerque. Thank you.
Councilor Benton.
Victor, thanks for your advocacy, and thanks for coming out and tell us about this. Sounds like a lot of fun. So I just wanted to give you a chance to put your website out there or your email for anyone who wants to help contribute with what you're...
Sure. My website is slowroll505.com. And if you want to contact me, I respond within 2 hours, or I try to at least, is slowroll505@gmail.com. And if you want to donate as a city member or just throw in a few bucks, there's an option on the website to donate through your phone.
Great. Thank you.
Any questions?
Councilor Borrego.
Mr. how do you say it?
Gallardo?
Gallardo?
Gallardo, it's okay.
Gallardo. I want to thank you for being here today and mentioning this program. I didn't hear you say that you're in any other part of the city, like maybe the Northwest Mesa or the Southwest Mesa or the Northeast Heights. So
yes, ma'am.
I would just ask that you consider those areas as you move forward.
Can I respond to that?
Yes.
So initially, the board that I have, we thought about doing 21 rides. So that's 21 summers, 21 Mondays to the summer time frame. We just don't have the operating costs and money right now to do the 21 rides. So we thought we'd start slow and do one for 5 months and see that maybe the city likes the idea as a proven concept. Our goal is to try to grow 10 or 20% year over year so that eventually we can do something in Uptown, something in the West Side. You know, interestingly enough, we hired some students from Volcano Vista High School to kind of give us feedback and design our logo and our corporate identity. So we are trying to reach different parts of the city. Right now, we're just trying to start small and be successful at it instead of being pretty aggressive.
I definitely appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Miguel Valdez, followed by Tad Naminsky, followed by Trey Sean Buffin.
Hello, esteemed council people. I'm Miguel Valdez. I'm the assistant principal of Whittier Elementary. Last year, we were named an MRI school, which is one of 4 schools in the state of New Mexico that had to go through restructuring. What we went ahead and did is, with the community support and with ABC Community Schools, is we transformed our school into a community school. What is a community school? Well, a community school brings people together, not just its students, but also all the people and the community around them. What we do at Whittier Elementary Community School is we empower and engage people and lead them to supports and also solutions. What we're doing at the end of this month, on March 30th, is we're actually having a Guardian Resource Legal Fair. What that is we are actually have partnerships with UNM Law School, with Bernalillo County offices, with social services, and what we're going to do is we are going to engage the community and lead them towards resources. What we're going to do is we have 53 partners right now. We're scheduled to have 40 vendors. We're inviting all of the schools that surround the community, which is like Hawthorne Elementary, the middle schools, Wilson, Van Buren. We actually have the Selfless Seniors, so all of the seniors that were named are gonna come and help us so we can promote the engagement. What we're also doing is we're teaming up with Kindness International, and they're doing a mural fest. We're gonna have student performances. But what we wanna do is we want to empower the community with information and lead them towards resources. What I wanna do is I wanna invite the community and all of you to come and witness the potential, because what we're doing over here at Whittier, we also see the vision aligned with the city, and we want to empower the community to be engaged, to be proactive, and we want to start at the beginning now and empower the community to get active and be this part of the solution. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Valdez. Our next speaker is Tad Namensky. Go ahead, Mr. Namensky.
Thank you. My name is Ted Niemiecki. Oh, well, I got about 4 points. Well, I'm not sure if I can get to detail and finish one. What got my attention, Section 8 lottery. Well, very interesting. What is Tim Keller housing partnership with St. Martin's 10 by 10 housing? Oh, it's also council through the Jones, 10 by 10 for homeless people. Well, she didn't hear me. She's busy talking to Davis. That's what we get when you come to speak here. Are they listening us? Council. Bologna. They just doing own job. Involved with the real estate businesses, etc., etc. So that's right. Trudy Jones, retire. I get to next time. I don't have time right now. More rules and regulation by city council. More businesses for the lawyers. Lawyers are very happy. What the council doing. Citizens paying for it. Of course. Now, racism. Don't we have any racists in Albuquerque? Well, I don't have time to get into bottle of that. Like, for example, Boost Mobile, laundries owned by Mexican, and Mexican kids born here, from illegal. Well, I experienced racism. They own businesses.
Thank you. Trey Sean Buffin, followed by Damian Galbraith, followed by the final speaker of the evening is Stefan Verchiniski.
Good evening, Madam President and councilors. My name is Trey Sean Buffin. In this past year, my grandmother was in the hospital at least 3 times, and each stint was anywhere between 12 hours to 2 days. I bring this up because there's currently a paid sick leave ordinance that is being proposed, and I would like to ensure that a sick leave policy is created that would extend the definition of family, because fortunately and unfortunately, there's a lot of families in the city that aren't made of this cookie cutter family that is expected. So I just want to urge you guys to support and pass an ordinance that will benefit the families in Albuquerque. Thank you.
Thank you. Damian Galbraith? And again, our final speaker is Stefan Verchininski.
Thank you, Madam Chair, councilors. My name is Damian Galbraith. I'm here to talk also about the sick leave ordinance that Trayshawn mentioned. I want to talk specifically about the business side, size aspect of that ordinance. I worked for a gas station that employed 2 managers and 5 employees. This was a giant gas station, so they're a huge conglomerate that has the money to pay a sick leave ordinance if they wanted to. I don't want to exclude any workers that need access to sick leave, and I would hope that you wouldn't as well. So that's why I'm asking that you make sure that if a sick leave ordinance does get carried through, that it would include all business sizes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our final speaker? And I'll say just your first name, Stefan, and I'll let you.
Yes. Ms. Pena, it's Verchinsky. So there's a chin and then ski. Very easy. Okay, it's easier than Gallegos, or Gallegos, as my mom used to call them. Anyway, my name is Stephen Verchinsky, and I'm here to go and speak on basically 3 quick issues. One is asking the council to actually come up with an ordinance with regards to this being a nuclear-free zone as a city. As you heard from Don Schrader earlier, he spoke about the items with regards to nuclear weapons. Well, there was the Federation First Provisional World Parliament in Brighton, England in 1982. It established a court in Los Angeles, and it was filed on behalf of the citizens of the Earth against the 28 nuclear nations. The defendants were divided into 3 groups: superpowers, nuclear host nations, and the nuclear-capable nations. In essence, the major agreement among all the judges found that the rules of war do indeed govern nuclear weapons, and these rules prohibit their use or threat of use under virtually all conditions presently contemplated by the superpowers. And to support the holdings, all 3 judges granted an injunction requested by the plaintiffs prohibiting such use and threat of use of nuclear weapons. And 2 of the 3 judges also stated that planning for nuclear war was illegal. So for us as a city to be aiding and abetting this particular type of work is something that we shouldn't be doing, in my opinion. Thank you. On another item is just downwind of us in Arizona, they've already started experimentation with geoengineering. I don't know if you've heard of it, but in geoengineering we have the issues with regards to solar radiation management. We don't even know if the experimentation is already being done over our own air here in Albuquerque. We appreciate if we would have discussion on it and work on it. There's a geoengineering manifesto that I got from Katowice, Poland, because people were so concerned on it, because the IPCC has actually gone ahead and said, this is our only option left because we have waited too long.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here this evening. That's our final speaker. Next is item 11, announcements. There will be a special city council meeting on Thursday, March 21st at 5 p.m. in the Vincent E. Griego Chambers. Councilor Benton.
Thank you, Madam President. And that special city council meeting, just for those who are watching, will be about the civilian police oversight discussion and the updates to our process on that bill that Councilor Winter and I are carrying. Also, there will be a Rail Yards Advisory Board meeting on Tuesday, March 26th at 8:30 a.m. in the Council Committee Room on the 9th floor.
Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. There will be an Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Government Commission meeting on Thursday, March 28th at 5 p.m. in these chambers.
Now we are on item 12, public hearings. There are none. 13, approvals. There are none. Item 14, final actions. Counselor Benton and Winter for Committee Sub 2 to 023.
Thank you, Madam President. CS 2023 is amending Chapter 9, Article 4, Part 1, ROA 1994, the Police Oversight Ordinance. I move a due pass. And I would like to move the amendments, although I think we're going to have a discussion about them. They're really moving them for the purpose of discussion. Councilor Winter, I defer to you because I know I think our intention was maybe to have the councilors discuss them tonight, but maybe not move the amendments yet.
Madam President, Councilor Benton, that's correct. I did talk to a couple of the groups, and although we can do that, I told them that we would just have some discussion, but would save the vote till the next meeting.
All right, so I withdraw that motion of moving the amendments, Madam Chair and Madam President, excuse me. So if maybe we could go back and forth on these, but talk about briefly each of these amendments. These have been brought forward by the stakeholders, and I agreed to sponsor them on their behalf, and I know that Councilor Sanchez has a couple of amendments as well that he can speak to. But the committee amendment listed as number A in the packet is on page 2, to allow stricken language to remain and remove the following underlying language. The CPOA is accountable to but independent from the mayor, the city's attorney office, and the city council and APD, the CPOA, et cetera. This amendment is proposed by APD Forward, and if approved, this section would remain unchanged from the current language and would continue to read as follows. There is hereby created a CPOA as an independent agency of city government, not part of either the city administration or city council, that it consists of a police oversight board and an administrative office led by the CPOA executive director. And the intention of this is keeping the accountable but independent language was very important to the advocates, and also would make the ordinance more consistent with the CASA agreement. As written, it tracks verbatim from the CASA and is consistent with that language. The amendment B, on page 8, line 3, insert the following language. APD shall provide POB members, the director, and CPOA staff with reasonable access to APD premises, files, documents, reports, data, including APD raw data, and other materials that are reasonably necessary for this purpose. This amendment is intended to clarify that APD is required to allow the CPOA access to its data, including raw data. This amendment was requested by APD Forward with the intention to help clarify the CPOA's ability to access APD raw data. Councilor Winter, you want me to keep rolling, or? Okay. The amendment labeled C is on page 8, line 9. Insert the following language before the period. And to recommendations by recognized research and policy development groups, forums, consortiums, or similar. And the explanation of this is the existing language of committee substitute number 2 recognizes that in making policy recommendations, the POB or the board, we're trying to get used to calling them the board, should be able to draw from a number of sources in recommending policy changes for APD, including from police best practices that have been used by other departments. And this amendment was also recommended by APD Forward with the intention to expand the definition of what constitutes police best practices from just those practices that other police departments have found effective to also include recommendations from policy research groups. With this change, the full definition of police best practices would include that language. The amendment labeled number D states, delete subsections 2, 3, and 4 on page 13, line 20 through, line 30 through page 14, line 8, and delete subsections 6 and 7 of page 14, line 12 through 33. Insert the following in place thereof. Prior to seeking a subpoena, the executive director must make a reasonable attempt to exhaust all other avenues for obtaining the information sought. Subpoenas shall be served in a manner that complies with all requirements for administrative subpoenas under New Mexico law. And APD Forward again suggested this change, suggesting that the subpoena language found in the subsections we mentioned is too cumbersome and intrudes too greatly upon the POB's ability to set internal procedures for itself. APD Forward recommends the above changes in lieu of these sections, which deal with notice to various individuals within the city about the need for information. The amendment labeled E. On page 13, line 29, add a comma after the word complaints. And this is one we had an interesting meeting about, and the value of a comma, a well-placed comma, is remarkable sometimes. So paragraph 283 of the CASA requires the city to grant the CPOA subpoena authority to carry out its functions. In applying this requirement, the CASA CS2 proposes to limit the scope of subpoena authority to the review of civilian police complaints and audits of police use of force, linchpins of the CPOA's purpose and function. But APD Forward identified that as written without the comma, this provision appears to limit the CPOA's subpoena authority to only those CPC reviews or audits where an improper use of force is alleged. This minor change would clarify that the CPOA would apply its subpoena, could apply its subpoena authority as it relates to any subject matter, not just use of force, such as an example, something like profiling or illegal searches, if they were relevant in the context of a complaint. So with this amendment, the sentence would read, the CPOA is authorized to issue subpoenas only as necessary to investigate civilian complaints, comma, or to audit and monitor incidences of use of force by the police. The amendment number labeled E states, delete the following language on page 19, line 32 through page 20. Line 1, a copy of these performance evaluations shall be delivered to the chief of police, the mayor, and the president of the city council for receipt by the council. Explanation, APD Forward recommends the POB should not be required to share its annual performance evaluation of its executive director with the mayor, the chief of police, or the city council. However, the purpose of this provision within the CS2 was to implement the CASA requirement that the CPOA POB remain accountable to the mayor, just like the annual reports from the CPOA help promote general oversight and accountability. The amendment labeled G inserts the following on page 10, line 9 after the period. The city council shall report out its progress on filling CPOA board vacancies on a quarterly basis. And this was recommended that, again, our staff, this doesn't mean the council itself, we keep an arm's length from these board vacancies, and the staff works to fill them, but the staff will report its progress on filling vacancies. And I think this was, would keep our process transparent to the public as to whether we're moving forward with expeditiously filling these vacancies. Just a couple more, I think, here. The one labeled H on page 3, line 12, insert the following between the words housed and in, and the board shall hold its meetings. With this amendment, the full sentence would read, the CPOA shall be housed and the board shall hold its meetings in a facility that is separate from any police presence and is located outside the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Government Center, the police department, and or all of the police substations. This amendment would require that the POB meetings be held outside of City Hall. I'm putting this forward at the request of APD Forward.
Madam President,
I'm not
Councilor
quite
Benton,
convinced myself yet about this.
Let me clarify that this is actually an amendment that was sponsored by Councilor Gibson.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, I think you
I
got
should have
on a roll
let
there.
Councilor
There were
Gibson
several.
do this.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, but you
Please.
were doing so well.
I
And
know, I was
gave
on a roll there,
Albuquerque
but I'm
Forward the
ready to
credit
stop.
for it, too. So I'll give him the credit for it. So I'm not going to reread it, but, yeah, the explanation, the intent is that, that the CPOA be housed, and the board shall hold its meetings in a facility away from the government center. And this amendment would require that POB meetings be held outside of City Hall. The ordinance already requires that CPOA offices be housed outside of City Hall, a measure that's intended to help promote the agency's appearance of independence. Having the meetings outside the City Hall may go further in promoting independence in fact and in appearance. And I think these past several months, you know, indicate a need for delineation of more independence from the council, between the council and the board. And, oh, I've got one more. Okay. This is Committee Amendment marked I on page 20, line 24. Insert the following after the period. In addition to the findings and recommendations, each investigation report shall, at a minimum, also include, 1, a section outlining any relevant background and facts relating to the matter, 2, a listing of any relevant policies, procedures, or practices that are at issue, and 3, an analysis of the issues in the case. And the explanation for this is that this amendment will help ensure the board members have relevant information and analysis presented to them in board material to help guide their review and consideration. At present, it appears that board members do not get much written analysis or information about the cases they are considering unless they independently review the investigation file. Additional helpful information can be useful to help focus a decision maker's analysis and can help build comfort with their ultimate decision. And
Thank you, Counselor Jones for J.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page, this is item J, on page 3, line 7, add the following language after the period. Board members shall rely on the CPOA professional investigative staff to perform the investigations called for under this ordinance, and shall not independently investigate any matters before the board. This amendment reemphasizes that the CPOA board shall not be doing its own investigations and shall use professional staff.
Thank you. K, Counselor Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, this amendment will not conflict with the CASA, which requires only that the city shall provide the agency a dedicated budget and grant the agency the authority to administer its budget in compliance with the state and local laws. And basically what it does in the current language, it states that the CPOA shall have a dedicated and independent source of funding equal to, and it's 0.5% of the total budget. Basically, that 0.5% would go away. And I personally feel because of the cost of the APD budget and the cost how it's risen so dramatically, bringing in more officers, that the CPOA should come into the budget process like every other department within the city of Albuquerque and request the money that they need to operate their department.
Counselor Sanchez, Al.
Okay, I think I've got the last amendment, and basically that would say that the director will be a full-time, at-will city employee, directly responsible only to the board, to be selected, removed, or reviewed as follows. So basically, the board would have that authority, and the director would be an at-will employee.
So is there any discussion on any of these proposed amendments? No? Any comments from the administration? Oh, Counselor Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. No discussion, but I want the public to know that these will be put online, and if you all would let us know how they can find these amendments online.
Counselor Davis, followed by Counselor Benton.
Thank you, Madam President, and I appreciate the sponsors. I just might ask our staff, Mr. Melendres, perhaps on proposed Amendment B regarding the language about providing POB members, the director, and staff with reasonable access to APD files, reports, and data, et cetera. would you just conduct an analysis for us of whether it's necessary to list the individuals or to better just say the CPOA, so it's clear whether individual members can make those individual requests or whether that's a more formal action of the organization or the board?
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor Davis will look into that and have a discussion ready for you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
And I want to add, with respect to Councilor Winter's request, those will be posted on the city's legislative portal through the Legistar system on the city's webpage. If you go to the City Council webpage and access City Council and go to legislation, you'll be able to access those amendments.
Councilor Benton.
Thank you, Madam President. And just to clarify, I think I may have misstated one of the amendments, but the one having to do with the performance evaluations of the director was F and not E, so I wanted to make that clear. And I also wanted to thank Mr. Melendres for working so hard on this. I mean, we had some really good discussions with the stakeholders, and these will continue. And we'll see how we do on Thursday night and whether we're ready to move forward or not.
Thank you. Before we go to close, is there anyone signed up to speak? No? No?
Madam President, just one more thing now. This is a special meeting, and we invite all neighborhood folks, all groups, anybody that wants to give some last final input on this, to please come down. I think we're really trying to make sure, since this is probably one of the most important ordinances the city has, that everybody has a chance to comment.
Thank you. I guess with that, I don't know if we should hear from Mr. Melendres and just have kind of a conversation. I know there was some question in terms of public input. If you could kind of give a series of events, you know, I know that this board, the council really feels that we've provided those opportunities throughout, but you know, Councilor Winter and Councilor Benton really felt that it was important to have one last opportunity to really engage the community. So as it was stated earlier, we really encourage lots of folks to come out Thursday and give their input. We do appreciate all the input we've received so far, but if you would kind of give us a timeline.
Sure, Madam President. This particular process has been very public relative to many council processes, just in terms of the length and the number of meetings that have been dedicated to its discussion. The bill that's before you now in its second committee substitute version was first introduced by this council back in the summer of 2018. From that time, it's made several appearances before the city's Finance and Government Operations Committee, where it was substituted twice based on stakeholder and community feedback. The City Council has also dedicated 2 study sessions to date to discuss this matter. And with respect to this bill finally coming to council, this is its second appearance at council where folks have had the ability to sign up and comment on the bill. The council is now scheduling another special City Council meeting for this Thursday evening, specifically dedicated to hear from the public, community members, neighborhood organizations that may have specific input with respect to this process. The stakeholders, including the Department of Justice, the Civilian Police Oversight Agency itself, APD Forward, the Albuquerque Police Officers Association, and APD have all provided comment and input so far, and the council will be available to continue hearing that before it finally votes on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Melendres. So I will turn it over to Councilor Benton or Winter to close. To defer, sorry.
I'll move the deferral until our special meeting on Thursday.
There's a motion and second for deferral to March 21st special council meeting. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is floor sub 036, Councilor Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. This is amending the public purchase ordinance requiring City Council approval of supplements for professional technical services and supplements to contracts awarded through the competitive sealed proposal process, and the administration has worked real closely with the council to make some changes that they think will make the ordinance better. So I move approval.
There's a motion and second for approval of floor sub 036. We have 2 people signed up to speak. Mr. Rudolph Serrano, followed by Tad Naminsky.
Madam Clarissa, members of the council, this is an old story. I'll tell you how old it is. I remember when we were going to make the Roadrunner train to Santa Fe. I having a, you know, a project to put solar panels in the Rio Grande and use solar energy to run a train, super fast train to Santa Fe. And I took it to Jay Sire, you know, and he tells me, Rudolph, this has already been decided. It's going to go to a friend of the governor, Governor Richardson. You know, and that keeps on being the story. Who do you know, and the politics in the back, and we don't get enough access. This is before it went to you guys. It was already decided before it went to you guys. So I do want to see a city council that has more access to what's going on in our city. This is an old story. We don't want this new administration to come with the same old ideas that, you know, have somebody in contracts and just pass it to them. And that's what I think we need to support this bill. Transparency is something that you can never have enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tadnaminsky.
Thank you. My name is Ted Niemiecki. Well, how it's important it is. But that brings me, on the other hand, I have many questions about contracts. Yes, real estate contract all over. Our city council is involved with real estate contract? Of course. They were with all kind of contracts involved already. Now, let's say, for example, leasing to this young lady has flower shop right here in downtown, $1 a month from the city property. Now, Trudy Jones wants to rent it Ayala property, and city will pay 20,000, almost 20,000 a month. What's the ripoff? Well, money changing hands, of course. Money changing hands. Let me tell you that. How corrupted is city? Well, several lawyers told me, we know that, but we have to prove it. That's right, we have to prove it. How is it to prove it? I'll give you some point. If you're suspicious, go on all accounts, any business transaction, credit cards, etc., etc. It is easy to track it. Well, some other ways too. Well, we need more than APD. We needed Inspector General, having people from outside the state.
Thank you. That was our last speaker. Is there anybody from the administration have any questions? No? So, Councillor Winter?
Thank you. I urge your support.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for floor sub 036. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next, we are on item, Councillor Jones, community sub R120.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is approving the programming for funds and projects for the 2019-2028 decade plan for capital improvements, including the 2019 two-year capital improvements. I move a do pass.
Second.
Then I would like to move the floor substitute.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for the floor sub. All those in favor say yes.
Yes?
Yes. Are we back? We're back on that. Did I say opposed, no? I'm sorry, opposed, no? Motion passes. So are we back on you? I'm sorry.
I don't.
Okay, well, we have public comment. Chris Hode, followed by Richard Martinez.
I guess I'll make a comment later.
Madam President, councilors, my name is Christy Howd. I live at 617 Edith Northeast, Unit 8, in the South Martineztown neighborhood, immediately to the east. Resolving historical flooding difficulties continues to be a priority in our neighborhood, particularly the area along Broadway by Lomas. The 79% reduction in the general obligation 2019 bond program for storm drainage is extremely concerning to us, to me personally. I believe we need to move forward with the Marble Arno storm drainage facility. I would ask that the original capital request for the $18 million for the storm drainage plan be restored to protect life and property in this rapidly developing area of our city along Broadway. Our neighborhood has worked with AMAFCA and the designers for this, the new Marble Arno storm drainage plan, and we are well along with design, and we feel, a number of us feel that kind of the rug has been pulled out from under us with regard to the drainage, to resolving the drainage problems in this area. So we respectfully ask that the full $18 million for storm drainage be reinstituted into the 2019 capital plan.
Councilor Benton.
Thank you.
Ms. Howe, thanks for coming down and speaking. I don't know if there's anyone else from your neighborhood that's
Yes,
here.
there is.
But we do. I guess we'll hear from them. Mr. Lovato's also here, and we've had some discussions with COO Rael about it, about how we could move forward and get this project built during this bond cycle. Originally, it was placed in 2 future bond cycles. It would have set it out another 4 years or more beyond this cycle. So we have been working with all these partners, and we have a wonderful partner in AMAFCA. So we'll address that after your,
Okay.
I guess, one other speaker. Right?
Yes, and thank you for your willingness to address this important storm drainage issue.
Thank you.
I know that there's been a lot of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richard Martinez, and that's our final speaker on this.
Hello, my name's Richard Martinez. I'm a longtime resident in the South Martineztown area. And I'm here before you to ask for your support in the full funding also for the Marble Arno storm drainage program. And that facility there, I can speak from personal experience, having been there since the 1950s, that it's an issue. And with all of the new development that's proposed in the area, this would really, to solve the problem finally, once and for all, hopefully, would allow for much, much improvement in the area. So I ask really for your support in providing that full funding for that project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Councilor Benton.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez, for speaking, and Ms. Howe. So again, we weren't able to really get fully backfilled on how this can be constructed, but we have had some productive meetings with AMAFCA's executive engineer, Jerry Lovato, and our DMD drainage folks, and so I've heard some good news, and just really today and this morning about how we might be able to get this built again during this cycle, not waiting for 2 more bond cycles to get it constructed. Anyone who was around in 2006 will remember we had 2 massive summer thunderstorms, one separated, I think they were separated by about a week. That was my first year on the council, and boy, was it an eye-opener. And the city stepped up and built some temporary facilities and made some improvements to created the temporary pond, and with the partnership of AMAFCA, created the temporary pond at Broadway and Lomas, but then we also rebuilt Tingley Park down in Borellis and made that serve as a detention facility as well for flooding. And those facilities have worked well, but we still have a pumping station with pumps that, as I say, could make a Cuban car mechanic proud. That we've somehow kept these pumps that go back to the 1950s, I believe their origin. We've somehow kept them operating over the years, but during those floods, or at least one of those floods in 2006, those pumps did fail, or one of them, or I think 1 to 2, depending on who you ask, did not do the job. And there was a compounding issues of various pumping stations and the one down in Borellis as well. But this has been something that's been frustrating to me that we haven't gotten it built already, and we've got the solution. We know what it looks like, and now's the time to really get it built and give some comfort to, as Ms. Howes and Mr. Martinez were stating, the good development that's going on in the area, but the more development means typically the more hard surfaces and roofs and ground that will not absorb rainwater, and we have that history to contend with, and the future to contend with, to make sure investments that are made in that area are going to be protected. And I've been told that this project would even benefit all the way down into Borellis because of the interconnectedness of the storm drain. So I would just like to turn it over, Madam Chair, to Mr. Rael, and then perhaps, if he sees fit, Mr. Lovato.
Mr. Rael.
Madam President and Councilor Benton, Mr. Lovato, who is the Executive Director for AMAFCA, and Mr. Montoya, our DMD Director, have been working on this project for some time. And I believe that depending on our action tonight and what ends up being, or whenever we finally make the decision on the CIP, depending on what the numbers look like, I think they've got a plan to basically bridge the gap, move the program forward, and with the city agreeing to pay AMAFCA whatever the difference is as the property at the corner of Broadway and Lomas is sold, then replenishing back, or basically repaying AMAFCA back for their investment. We appreciate AMAFCA's support, and so until those numbers are complete, we may not be able to tell you what the number looks like, but I think there's a good working relationship to get this done.
And I'll leave it open to Mr. Lovato to come down if he would like. The one issue that came up when we did meet, when I was in the meeting, was the estimate for the project, which the city's estimate was around 15.7 million. AMAFCA's perhaps more conservative, but sometimes it's good to be conservative. Executive Engineer Lovato's estimate was more around the 18 million range, so that is also of a concern to me that even if we are all in agreement on this, is what the gap is, and so I'll just ask that question, Mr. Lovato.
Mr. Lovato.
President, Councilman, my name is Jerry Lovato. I'm the Executive Engineer for AMAFCA, the Flood Control Authority. We've been working with the City of Albuquerque for many, many years, since 2006, to purchase that piece of property for that temporary pond, and then coming up with a master plan for the entire Mid-Valley to provide drainage and flood control. We will support the city in any decision that's made tonight any way we can. We do have a board meeting next week, and this will be a topic of discussion for next week. We currently have $6 million, which is in your current budget, that's been appropriated by the AMAFCA Board of Directors, and we're ready to help in any way we can. So I can stand for any questions, but you have a hard decision to make, and we really appreciate any help you can do to provide flood control for the greater urban area. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lovato. And just with regard to the estimate, I mean, we talked, I know it's easier said than done about trying to get an updated estimate for it, but we know that it's somewhere between those two
The City of Albuquerque
figures.
has come up with some ideas to reduce the cost of the pump station.
Right.
It is also going to be a vital part of a community, so
Right.
it has to look good. So there's going to be some additional cost. But I think the engineering firm the city has working today has some great ideas, and it's someplace between 16 and $18 million. So we
Right.
could compromise and call it 17, and see if that's going to be close. But it's always better to be a little high, in my opinion, than a little low.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from council?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. So any questions, comments from the administration?
Madam Chair.
Oh, Councilor Jones.
Thank you. I was just advised by legal counsel that although we haven't always done this in the past, we need to tonight. We have in fact a rule that we have missed on several occasions. That means that we must defer this for the next meeting, which is April 1st, or we must suspend vote to suspend the rules to vote on it this evening. Councilors, that would be your choice.
Madam President, oh, I'm sorry.
Councilor Gibson, followed by Councilor Harris.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to, I guess I need some clarification because I thought that budget bills were exempt from that.
Madam President, Councilor Gibson, I'm going to read our council rules. This is in Section 7 under amendments and floor substitutes. At the bottom of the section, it states that any floor substitute for the operating budget and capital improvements program shall require submission to council staff 3 working days prior to final adoption, and shall be made available to all councilors 24 hours prior to the meeting in which the substitute bill will be heard. And it has been the case that this rule has been applied inconsistently. To be honest, I wasn't even aware of this rule. It has been our practice to work the floor substitute to the very last minute. So it's the will of the council, but that's what our rules state right now.
Councilor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll move that we suspend the rules and for the purpose of voting on this item.
Second?
There's a motion and a second on the floor to suspend the rules. Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. I will not support suspending the rules for this purpose. Both of these floor substitutes came to the council this evening. That's why staff presented some of the paperwork late. I feel that the administration should have the opportunity, at least for 2 weeks until April the 1st, to get to look at what has been presented. This is an 11th hour proposal with a floor substitute. I know that Friday, the Committee of the Whole Chairman put a proposal together that included what they thought was the floor substitute. We've got a completely floor substitute right now that we're looking at, and I would hope that this council would support deferring this for 2 more weeks until the April 1st meeting.
Councilor Harris.
Thank you. It was the will of the council on a 6-3 vote to have this passed on April 1. I don't even understand what we're here. The legislature just got out a couple days ago. I would like to even hold off on my set-aside to compare that. And I understand that the council president might have another floor substitute that we should look at. This is exactly why the council passed by 6-3 vote that we do this on April 1, and we should. So I'm going to support the deferral and oppose the motion for immediate action, or to suspend the rules.
Councilor Benton.
Madam Chair,
Councilor Bernico.
I will support the deferral. I think that rule is pretty clear, and yeah, I think, there was, I guess, a perception that because it was these were budget matters, there is some difference in the rule there, but not that that we should be waiting to this late hour. So.
Councilor Borrego, followed by Councilor Jones.
Madam President, I'm also going to support a deferral. Yesterday, I received the Senate bill, the final Senate bill on the capital outlay, and I have staff analyzing it for some of the projects that I submitted. So I'd also like to ask for the deferral.
Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I think the will of the council is to defer, and that's fine. because everybody needs an opportunity to look at this, although I think all the counselors have had an opportunity to look, but it's still the way it should be. So I would hope that Councilor Gibson would withdraw her motion, which failed for lack, well, we haven't voted on it, would withdraw her motion, and we could move forward with deferring this to April 1st.
Okay, before we do that, Counselor Davis.
I think we're going to make the same point here. I think maybe, I wonder if the council will withdraw it at the moment, let us pass the substitute in, and then maybe decide on the procedural motion next, if that would be okay. I might make that recommendation.
I would be glad to withdraw that.
So, yeah, we've already passed the sub, so do we need a motion and a second for the withdrawal?
I move for a deferral until April 2nd. Do we need to actually
Wait, do we need to vote on the
Okay,
withdrawal?
Counselor Jones is looking at me.
Okay.
A motion second for a deferral until April 1?
There's a motion and second for a deferral of committee sub R120 to April 1st. Before I take the vote, we're good? Okay. All those in favor say yes?
Wait,
Yes.
wait. This is not a committee substitute. This is the floor substitute. We approved the floor
Oh, we
substitute.
approved the floor, yes,
So
you're
this
right,
would
sorry.
be a motion to hear the floor substitute on April 1st.
Correct. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no? Motion passes. So now we are on R2, amending the council rules of procedure, Article 3, Section 23, relating to the allocation of council expenses. I move a due pass. There's a motion and a second for a due pass of R2. Is there anyone signed up to speak? No? Any questions from the councilors? Councilor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam President. So as you know, we also have in the pipeline RA1 regarding the Internal Operations Committee. And I have deferred that until I think it's our next meeting. I think it's when it comes back up on the agenda again. Been working with staff to hopefully to fix that rules amendment. And yours here looks like it really could be folded in. So I'm wondering if you as the sponsor would be amenable to deferring this, and then you and I can get together and see if we can work it into the first rules amendment.
Thank you, Councilor Gibson. Actually, I think it's kind of unrelated to what it is a rules amendment, but it's unrelated to the, I don't want to confuse the two different issues. So I would prefer to pass this evening or not pass it this evening based on that. So, Councilor Sanchez?
Thank you, Madam President. I do support this legislation. One of the concerns I do have is I would hope that we would have a budgetary process where we would have to go through a process through our administration and the budget staff to look at these individual nonprofits that are coming to the council to assure that they meet the qualifications and guidelines that we have in place. I don't think there is an amendment in there right now to look at that. So, I mean, I would prefer maybe a 2-week deferral on the legislation to incorporate that language in there, because there should be checks and balances when these nonprofits come to the members of the council for money.
Absolutely. Would you consider her doing an amendment now, or would you prefer the deferral?
To me, I'd prefer the deferral, but if staff wants to move forward with that now, that's fine also.
Do you have any language?
Madam President, Councilor Sanchez, it's the will of the council if they'd like to wait, but I can come up with language on the fly if I need to.
Okay. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I can't possibly support this. Right now, the city councilors each have $1,000 for these uses, and I think the public needs to know what these uses are proposed to be used for. They are limited there to be used for constituent outreach activities such as mailings, electronic website notifications, district and neighborhood events, coffee with the counselor, and small event sponsorships for nonprofit organizations. Now, my question is, how can you as taxpaying citizens say to each of us, we're going to hand you $40,000 a year to use as you see fit? Quite frankly, it would be very easy for us to say part of that for the mailings or the website or notifications, outreach activities. Could that be interpreted as campaigning? Could that be interpreted as helping? How do we know? Right now we have a process for nonprofits to come to us if they want us to help fund the organization of what they're doing. It's a very involved process. They have to do a budget. They have to give us information. They have to tell us exactly what they're going to do with it and who is going to get the money and how. I believe that this is totally unacceptable for the council to think about funding this kind of money for themselves with no checks and balances, no procedures for what it's used for, and no follow-up on it. I can't possibly support something like this. What an affront to the taxpayers to think that we would vote this for ourselves. So I cannot possibly support this.
Any other counselors? Counselor Benton, followed by Counselor Gibson.
Yeah, I also cannot support this. I have to say that, just to correct Councilor Jones, it's not 1,000. We have up to 5,000 a year for these constituent outreach type activities. And I think that's a fairly limited, I think a properly limited use for such funds. But I have to say that I've rarely gotten even close to spending that $5,000, and I've intentionally tried to not spend it because it's otherwise we'd be in the city's general fund if it's not spent, or revert to the city's general fund, and I would prefer that to myself spending it in willy-nilly. Not that it's not good to have, because big issues come up. We need sometimes to sponsor town halls and things where we can have constituent outreach, but at the same time, to have $40,000 really, it seems like a lot. And I know that with the, when we did have the special projects fund, you know, there was a lot of interest in that. I think there, and I know that that's the reason that Councilor Gibson brought up the other amendment, and it's related to this in a way, but I really do feel that we're not creating that. In recent past, over the last year or two, we've not had that fund, and that's up to the will of the council whether we were to do something like that again. But nonetheless, I can't support this. I just, these kind of expenditures should come before the full council and be transparent.
Counselor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just have a question about this. I noticed that travel was removed from the amendment. Any reason why?
Yes, Madam President,
Ms.
Counselor
Yadav.
Gibson, I actually drafted this and I removed travel from the list of items, only because in practice, the council staff and financial folks, we do use the council budget for council travel, but we've never hit that against this pot of money. And so I thought it was inappropriate to keep that language there.
Thank you.
So any counselor needs to travel, we cover it with our regular general fund budget.
Okay. So, yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move deferral of this item for 2 weeks until April the 1st.
So there's a motion and a second for a deferral of R2-19-2 for, to what day? The April 1st?
Correct.
Until April 1st. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no? Was that 6-3? 6-3? Did we get that right? Okay. All those, so passed on a 6-3, so it'll be deferred to April the 1st. Thank you. So next we are on R127, Counselor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. This is authorizing the giving of notices for bids for the sale of City of Albuquerque, New Mexico general obligation bonds. I'm confident someone from administration would like to discuss this. Mr. Rael, because I choose not to.
Well, let me start with the nickels and dimes. We do have someone here, our bond counsel folks are here to talk about this.
Counselor Jones, should we kind of do these together, just hear them out together, and then we'll vote on them separately?
I think that depends on whether the administration would like to have that happen. Mr. Ryle?
That would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Members of the council, Madam Chair, members of the council, Chris Muirhead with the Model Firm Bond Counsel to the city. The floor substitutes in front of you for both, just all they do is then itemize between the three series of the par amounts. That's the change between the initial introduction version as the transaction came together and the projects came together and the terms were firmed up of which would be in the Series A, the Series B, and then the short-term sponge bonds with the state treasurer. So now the Series A is $14,308,000, the Series B is $12,342,000, and the Series C is $7,150,000. That still adds up to the same $33,800,000 that was in the initial introduction, but it breaks it down accurately now between the three series. The bid resolution, which is R-19-127, sets forth the process to publish the notice of bids for investors to purchase the Series A and Series B bonds on April 3rd to make those bids. The Series C's bonds do not need that as they're placed with the State Treasurer's Office and are not a public sale like the A's and the B's. The bond ordinance, which is O-1950, is very consistent with what you've seen for years in terms of GO bond ordinances and is a pledge of ad valorem taxes. And it does authorize all three of those series subject to a sale certificate to be executed by the CFO or the city treasurer on April 3rd when those deals are sold, subject to your approval tonight. This will exhaust the authorized amounts from the 2017 bond election as we gear up toward the 2019 bond election. But this will satisfy and use all of the available funds that were approved by the voters in 2017. Happy to answer any questions. Again, this floor substitute is really limited to maybe some editorial fixes that I've looked at, but really substantively to identify the par amounts of all three series of bonds.
Thank you, Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of R-127.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of R-127. Councilor Sanchez. Yeah, we're not going to vote. Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a question. In this ordinance, is there a call provision with the interest rates going up that we can call these bonds if the interest rates start to come back down again?
Yeah, so I'll actually defer to Eric to talk about that. Currently, the ordinance from a legal side leaves it open for pricing on the 3rd. It is traditional to have a call provision, which they will, and again, Eric is the guy to talk about that, of where that will be set. But there will be provisions in the final bonds that do have a early redemption provision.
Thank you.
Madam President, members of the council, my name is Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets. We're the city's financial advisor. We anticipate that these bonds will have a 7-year call provision. This is a little bit sooner than the city has historically done. One, we don't anticipate a lot of premium on the long end bonds, and two, because advanced refundings are no longer allowed due to the tax code change at the federal level back in December of 2017. We want to move that in to give the city more flexibility. So we anticipate that will have a 7-year call. We will probably make that decision in about a week or so, depending upon market conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Harris.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to make sure that we haven't substituted it.
No, we haven't moved the substitute yet. Yeah. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move floor substitute for 127, or R127.
There's a motion and a second for floor sub to R127. All those in favor say yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're back on the bill as substituted.
Urge your approval.
Thank you. So there's a motion and a second for a due pass of R127. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Now, next, we've heard from the bond council on both these. So, Councillor Jones, 050.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move floor substitute for 01950.
There's a motion and a second for floor sub to 050. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Back on the bill as amended. So there's a motion and a second for 050. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. There being no further business, this council meeting is adjourned.